Hello guys, this is Cesar Creates and welcome back to my channel. Today is the day we are finally starting a new project, the new zoo. So I am very pleased to welcome you to the Desert Adventure Park. Until now, I only had one series on my channel in Planet Zoo, the Elm Hill City Zoo, and now the time has come to start something completely new. We are still building a zoo, but it will be completely different from our Elm Hill City Zoo, which is a zoo located in a temperate biome somewhere in Europe. I decided to challenge myself and try to build a zoo that will be located on a desert. This zoo is actually inspired by my visit to Dubai, where I visited Dubai Safari Park, which is basically a zoo located in the middle of the desert. And this entrance that we are building here today is also inspired by that park. The entrance to the Safari Dubai Park is something that I will remember for a long time because it impressed me so much. It is actually the most modern entrance to the zoo that I have ever seen. It is also a large entrance. You basically go inside and you have shops, you have photo booths, you have, guest services in there, you have one of the habitats in there, you also have restaurant, toilets, and it is all located in one entrance building. So yeah, I decided to challenge myself and build an entrance inspired by my visit to this zoo. Of course, it isn't like an actual recreation of that entrance because I think that it would be impossible to create an actual replica. But this entrance is definitely inspired by the one in Dubai. I've changed some things that would be just impossible to build or I didn't like, but I left the most of it. And let me just say that it was super challenging to build. You should be able to see a photo of this entrance right now on the screen just to see the reference of what I'm creating today. As you can see, it is quite large and there's a lot of glass. And also there are a lot of different and weird angles. And those angles were so difficult to recreate. There are not too many straight lines and many details. I think that the whole process of building this building took me about 18 to 20 hours, which is, I think, the longest that it ever took me to build something in Planet Zoo. One building or one habitat. I had so many attempts. I had to redo some parts over and over again because something was odd for me. The angles in the roof were not as I wanted them to be, were not cooperating with me. Yeah, those roofs that you see right now were very difficult to put together because they didn't want to cooperate with me at all because of the weird angles. And making this whole roof even was actually a very big struggle for me. It is still not perfect, but it was my best attempt, and in the end of the day I am super proud of myself that I could create something like this. As you can see now, I actually by accident shut down my recording program. I use Bandicam for recording those videos, and I must have clicked something and just turned it off. And a footage of me creating those wide construction, pipes or support beams, it didn't record. But it wasn't anything too difficult to recreate. Those are just those rods that we were given with an Australia pack. And again, they're in very different and annoying angles. So maybe it is okay and good that we don't have this footage because this video would be even longer if we had it. Because those beams were also a bit of a struggle for me. So yeah, this what you see right now when you are watching this video, this is my a final attempt of creating this building. there were so many like fails and trials and so on that I was so determined to build that normally I think that I would give up because I wasn't really happy with how this roof was looking. But I have this like very nice idea for this park, and I didn't want to like just ditch it and look for something else, so I was quite determined, and in the end I think that I nailed it. Maybe not nailed it, but I created something that is decent and something that I basically wanted to have. So yeah, here on the video you guys don't see all the struggle, you just see the good parts. But believe me when I say that it took so long to build that. I mean, not only the roof, but all the things that will be built later in the video. I mean, for example, the entrance hall, the place where the ticket booths are, the huge plaza at the front of the entrance. They were all very difficult, and they were actually difficult because I chose to not make it, straight. I wanted this build to have like an interesting shape, and I also wanted the guests to go up the gentle slope when they are approaching the entrance. And this slope was actually something that made it the whole thing much more difficult by the end when I created all those things outside in the front of this entrance. But I will go back to it on a later stage of this video. As you can see, now we are basically done with the roof. We also copied it over to create another building because this entrance actually is made out of those big buildings which are connected with this like hall or corridor or something like this, which is lower and has a flat roof. The good thing was that I was actually able to copy over the roof that I already created and just, changed the angles a bit, and the second building was ready and I didn't have to like go through it again. So I was very happy about that. Right now I am creating this area where people are actually entering the zoo. I mean, there will be like place for ticket booths and also an actual entrance. I mean, sliding doors when guests enter the zoo. And on the real building in Dubai, there are some tiles on those walls. So I also wanted to give it some tiles in my build. And in the end, it looks really good. I created those tiles from some metal pieces. I think they're called braces for those metal support or metal construction beams. When you turn them around, there's a flat surface, and when you change the color, you cannot really tell that it is a metal piece. So they're a bit shiny, so it is perfect for tiles. I've changed their color to beige or sand color, just as on the real building, and I really like how it looks. It was actually the first time for me to create some custom, wall decorations or wall tiles. I saw some of them on the workshop, so that's how I knew that you can do something like this, and I was very inspired by it. But in the end, there are so many of those pieces in this build. I cannot even try to guess how many those metal pieces we have that create those tiles. I think there are thousands of them right now. And when you add those tiles, all the pieces that are in this entrance and the grass that you'll be able to see me create by the end of this video, there are so many pieces in total in this build that actually when I moved my camera closer to this build, my computer starts to have some troubles. I mean, it lags a bit, so I am a bit afraid what it will be after we are finished with the inside part, because basically in this part we mainly focus on the outside of this building, and in the second episode we'll create the inside. So if you are interested and want to see how to create detailed interiors for a building in Planet Zoo, definitely stay tuned till the next episode of the Desert Adventure Park, because in this build we'll focus on the interior of this entrance. And right now I am a bit afraid what will happen if it will be finished. I have a pretty powerful computer, but I think that I made a mistake with the grass that you'll see by the end. And if we'll have any problems, I think that I will have to change it a bit, because I definitely don't want our zoo to start, lagging when we are basically at the beginning and don't have any animals yet. So we'll have to handle it a bit. As you could see, I actually got rid of some of those tiles, because in the real build there are actually some plants growing on those walls. I mean, you have those special installations with water pipes that are in those walls, so that you can have some plants that grow on actual walls, and it looks really, really cool. And they use that in the real build, I mean in the Dubai Safari Park entrance. And I thought that we could actually use it here, and it looks so cool. I mean, we got those patches or panels of plants with the aquatic pack, and I decided to use them here. But as you can also see, I decided to add some other plants just to give it some variation and so that it doesn't look so repetitive. So I sank in some of those ponytail palm trees, I think that they are called, and some other plants. And in the end, I really, really like how it looks. It gives this, very modern and clean build some imperfections, which I really like. Also, I know that we are building on a desert, but there are obviously ways to water the plants. Let's pretend that we are building in some very rich country like United Arab Emirates or some other imaginary country that is really wealthy and is basically in the desert region. So they have a lot of money for the water to water their plants. So be prepared that there will be a lot of exotic plants in this zoo. We are not using many of them in Elm Hill City Zoo because I am sticking to the temperate biome where we are building, but here we'll actually go a bit more crazy because of, just watering the plants and just so they have the right climate. I mean it's warm, they have water, so they are actually, I think, very happy and can thrive in such conditions. I named the Elm Hill City Zoo from a plant or a tree that is available in the game, I mean the elm tree. So I wanted to do something similar in here. I was going through the desert plants that we have in game, and I only liked one, which was a crimson plant. And I actually came up with a name, Crimson Valley Park or Valley Zoo, Crimson Valley Zoo, because as you can see, this map actually shows you a large valley behind those canyons on the desert. And I was pretty convinced to this name, I really liked it, and something like I had a thought just to check if there's none other zoo on YouTube that is called in that way. And actually there is one series on YouTube that is called Crimson Valley Zoo, so I am very glad that I checked it. This series is actually by a very talented creator whose name is Bongo Hardwood. I really enjoy his videos. He's actually a zookeeper, so it is very interesting to see how a zookeeper builds in this game. So definitely go and check his channel if you don't know him, because it is totally worth it. So yeah, then I had to come up with some other name, and I actually started to think what we'll have in this park. And that's how my name came up to my head. because it would actually be a great adventure that will happen on a desert. So that's how I came up with a name, Desert Adventure Park. I know that it is quite basic, but maybe we'll change it a bit in the future, I will see. But for right now, I will stick to it because it perfectly describes what will be happening in this zoo. So not only the entrance, but actually the whole zoo will be inspired by my visit to the Dubai Zoo. Because in this zoo, animals and their habitats are actually divided into different sections, which are called villages. There is an African village, there is an explorer village, there is an Asian village, and there is a desert village. And also there are actually 2 safari rides. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is actually something that we'll be creating in this zoo. As I told you at the beginning of this video, I wanted to create something very different from the Elm Hill City Zoo, which is the zoo where I focus on the realism, where I build habitats and building typical for city zoos around the world, mostly in Europe. So we are focusing there on realism and, creating this very generic look. And this park, on the other hand, will be more themed. Just as in real zoo in Dubai, we'll divide it into several parts. I think that I will also call them villages, and I will theme them accordingly to the region that the animals in this village will be coming from. For example, we'll for sure have an African village, we'll also have an Indian village. I think that we'll also have a desert village and maybe 2 more, which I haven't decided on yet. But yeah, we'll still focus on realism. I mean, I want to create realistic habitats inside of those themed villages. But the big focus will be on those theming. I mean, we'll do something similar to the amusement parks and how they themed their rides or particular areas. So yeah, for example, in our African village, we'll use this architectural style from Africa that we'll have in game, and also obviously use animals from Africa. All the villages will have their separate entrances, and the guests will be coming from one village to another. And on the top of this adventure we'll have 2 safari rides. One will be an African safari ride when the guests will be able to observe all the African animals from the savannah. And the second one will be a desert ride when the jeeps will be coming through the dunes on the desert, and the guests will be able to observe some of the desert animals. I'm also pretty convinced that I want to add a petting zoo. In the original Dubai zoo there is a petting zoo. It is also very themed, like a wonderland for kids with a lot of goats, cows, sheep, bunnies, and so on. So yeah, now that the mods are getting more and more popular and we have a lot of them and they're really, really wonderful, I saw that we can create a proper petting zoo, and I think that this is something that we'll also focus on in this park. In the middle of all those villages, in the middle of the zoo, there'll be a park. A tropical park with a lot of plants, with a river and some waterfall, just as it is in the Dubai park, Dubai Zoo. So yeah, in the middle we'll have this park, and around it there'll be those villages with safari rides, and this is basically my plans for this zoo, and I hope that it will look as good as it is looking in my head. So yeah, I have big plans for this zoo, and I hope that you guys will enjoy it. And if you actually enjoy this little idea of mine and you would like to see it coming to life, consider to subscribe so you don't miss any of my new videos. As you can see right now, we are creating those sliding doors, the actual entrance to our park. Of course they are not functioning, but let's pretend they are. They will be constantly open. So yeah, this is the place when you enter and also exit the zoo. This zoo will only have one entrance. We are not creating any more crazy buildings like this in the future, thank you. And it will also have only one parking lot, which is not finished right now. I only laid out the path, how I want to more or less to be positioned, just to have an idea, but I need to go back and finish the parking lot. It actually needs to be a bit bigger because this zoo, as I told you, it would be located somewhere far from the city center, near the desert. So you probably need to take a car or drive some bus, a dedicated bus to it. So there are a lot of people taking their cars to see the animals, so the parking lot needs to be a bit bigger. Also, what will be the issue and what we need to remember in this park is that we are building on a desert, so it would be probably very, very hot for our guests. And we need to remember about all the shadings, the shadows, the covered spaces. So all the viewing galleries, all the viewing points for the habitats should have some, shading structures, some canopies, some, umbrellas or something like this. So I will need to remember about it. And also we need to build something for cars, because I'm sure you know what happens when the car stays in the full sun on a hot day. You get in this car and it basically feels like an oven. So we don't want that for our guests, and we'll build some, parking spaces with some roof or some shading just to prevent that. But I don't think that I'll be making, the separate episode just to finish the parking lot. I will do it off camera just when I have some time, and I'll show you guys when it will be finished. As you can see, I already started to work on glass walls. We are starting to close up those huge buildings by building it. I was actually able to copy it over with small adjustments to other parts of those two buildings, so I didn't have to build it again every time the building ends. So I didn't show it on the video because I didn't want to make it too long. I didn't show the copying over and adjusting it. This video is already too long as I think of it, but I just wanted to finish this exterior of this building and focus on the interior on the next episode, because it will also be a detailed build. But I will try not to upload those very long videos in the future, because probably some of you don't have time to watch an hour of video of me building during your day. So in the future I will try to make those episodes a bit shorter. But yeah, this is what it is today. I chose to build a very detailed building, so it was hard to make it shorter and also show you guys how it is basically built, so you can learn something or get some inspiration from it. And this is basically how we end up with 1 hour long video. Also, because this build took me so much time and was so detailed, I actually didn't have time to record something for the Elm Hill City Zoo. So sorry guys that in this week there wasn't or won't be any content from the Elm Hill City Zoo, but there will be for sure next time. In the next episode we'll add something new, because as I told you last time in Elm Hill City Zoo series, we are starting a new season in this zoo, so it is quite exciting. We'll start to build in another area of the zoo. I am still not convinced what I want for the first episodes of this season, but I'm sure that I will make up my mind and will build something cool. In the future, I will actually try to upload 2 times a week, maybe one time Elm Hill City Zoo and 1 time Desert Adventure Park. But we will see. The summer is close. I have some plans. If not for vacations, then for weekends. So adding my regular job to it, there isn't much time for YouTube and for playing Planet Zoo, but I will do my best to upload 2 or at least 1 episode each week. Actually, at some point I want to start another zoo, the 3rd one, because I really like the zoos by some other creators that are located in the mountains. I don't know, maybe there are too many of those videos, but I think that the building pieces that we have in Planet Zoo, they are like perfect for creating those wooden cabins in the woods, in the mountains, and those small zoos in those forests on those hills. They look so cool. I watched some videos by other creators and I got so inspired to build something like this that I will consider it to be our 3rd project, but we will see. I also thought about creating a zoo on the Australian outback with using a lot of those Australian, rusted pieces and recycled materials. I think that you can create very nice things with them, but I am a bit afraid that it will be quite similar to this zoo. I mean, those are basically 2 different deserts, one with beige sand and one with orange sand, so we will think about it. And I am more convinced on the taiga mountain, something like this, small zoo with those cabins, wooden buildings, but I am still not like 100% convinced. So as I told you guys, we will see. Right now we have 2 large projects that I need to focus on, because I have like really high hopes for this one, and I really hope that you will enjoy it. Right now we are creating an exit for our zoo. I mean, when the guests they have seen all the zoo and they want to go back to their home, they need to go through those doors in here and go back through the entrance. I mean, in this whole like corridor there will be a gift shop. So it is very common for zoos to do it, that the guests actually they exit through the gift shop. They see all the souvenirs with animals that they have seen, so they're more like convinced to buy some souvenir with an animal that they really liked. So yeah, this is something that we'll create in the next episodes. We'll also create this gift shop. But right now, as we are focusing on the exterior, this is the actual exit. So this is me creating a roof for this part of the building. This roof is flat. It has some plants actually on it, so we'll also include them. And some of those technical stuff, I mean, all those devices for air conditioning and so on, I don't know their names and don't even try to find out, because I am not very good in those technical things. But I recreated something that I saw on the pictures. So there were those pipes, there were those air conditioning things on this roof. So yeah, this is something that we'll be adding here, with some of the desert and tropical plants that will be growing here, just to hide all those devices on the roof, and also give this part of the entrance a really nice decoration. Again, when it comes to the plants, I would like to talk a bit about the grass on the desert, because you are actually able to grow it there. If you change the sand for some other soil and you water the grass, it will for sure grow on here. And it's such a pity that we cannot actually choose, the biome in which we are painting the terrain. I mean, I wish that I could like paint some, of the grass, create the grass patches here with a grass from the temperate or taiga biome, the slash green grass, because it would grow here if it would be like taken care of. In Dubai Zoo, they have a lot of grass. They have it in, outside of this entrance. They have it in the park in the middle of the zoo, and you can see those sprinklers working. But if they can, afford it, then why not? So yeah, in this desert biome, we have some long grass, but it is basically dry and has this really not very attractive color. So at first I was like, okay, so we need to create our own grass. And I did an attempt. I created it from the elephant grass, from this aquatic grass, and some other plants, and I sunk them deep into the ground so that only like the top is sticking out of the terrain. And it is looking really, really, really nice, like a grass that is slightly taller, that needs some cutting or moving. But then I realized that there are so many pieces in those grass areas, and they create such a detailed structures. I mean, there are so many those single leaves of grass and of elephant grass sticking out of those small grass from the aquatic pack, that as I told you, my computer has some problems when I move too close to this grass because there's so many small pieces in there. So I thought that we'll be able to use it on the whole, like this park area in the middle, but I am like a bit afraid to do it because I don't want this zoo to be lagging too much, and because of this grass I think that it would be possible that it will lag a bit. So we'll have to come up with some other idea just how to create very lush and green grass on the desert. Right now I am leaving this grass as it is here at the front. I won't be changing it. Maybe if we will have some issues in the future, I will think of changing it, but right now I am like really happy with it and don't want to change it. Of course, you'll be able to see what I'm talking about at the end of this video, when we'll actually add this grass, but I am afraid that this video is a bit too long for me to talk through it all. So I decided to tell you now about the grass and how I enjoyed creating it. Right now I started to create those vertical gardens or vertical planters that are also on this side of the entrance in the real build. I mean in the real entrance in Dubai. It is something similar that we had near the ticket booths, but this time it covers the whole part of this building in here. So we also created it with those bigger patches or those panels of aquatic plants that we got with the aquatic pack. But I also added some other plants just to give it more texture and so it doesn't look too repetitive as it does when you just put those panels next to each other. Thanks to adding those vertical planters, this whole entrance is much more green, lush, and looks like very attractive when it comes to, you're basically on the desert and you see a very green building, which is quite amazing. And it was the same with me when I was in this zoo and I saw a lot of plants and this park in the middle. It was all green, but basically it was a hot day. And when you go up on the hill in the zoo, you can actually see that you are in the middle of the desert. because you can see some parts of the desert in the distance. And yeah, it is so unbelievable what water can do, how it supports the life of plants and through plants the animals. So yeah, it was really, really amazing experience, and we'll try to make it here as well. I just need to figure out this stupid grass. Right now I will quickly walk you through all the things that I will still build in this video, because I basically told you guys everything that I wanted, and I don't want to bore you with making up topics to talk about right now. So yeah, firstly we'll finish the planters, as you can see, and then we'll move to the ticket booth, this building that is basically a separate building that is a part of bigger building, which is our entrance. We will do tiles around this building. I didn't include all the footage of those tiles because it is just coping over this zigzag of tiles. I mean, this is the easiest way to do it. You basically need to click on this like zigzag, and then when you copied it, they perfectly zip in together. So it is the fastest way to do it. Then I will create a canopy above the ticket booths just to give the guests some shade and protection from the sun when they are buying their tickets. This one is inspired by a real build. The Dubai Zoo has something similar. It is in this weird angle that I will also create. It has also those supporters that are there just to make sure that it won't fall on someone's head, and I will also make them. In a cinematic shots by the end of this video, you'll be able to see a custom billboard that I've put in here that includes the opening hours of our park, but also ticket prices. So it is really cool because I came up with an idea. I think that I didn't came up with this idea because it was the same when I was visiting the Dubai Zoo, that you have two types of tickets. You have regular tickets just to enter the zoo and go around all those villages, but you also have a combo ticket that you need to buy if you also want to go for the safari rides. So we have regular tickets and combo tickets with a safari. The combo tickets are obviously more expensive. After that, I will create my own walls. I mean, I think that they're called walls as well. There are those smaller, walls that support the terrain when there is, slope or something, so it isn't sliding down. I created them with the limestone pieces just to create some stone tiles. And after that, I created a very similar shape that is actually in the Dubai Zoo. It's a bit different because I didn't want to close it as much as it is in the Dubai, and I used this wall to do it. Between those two walls there will be a lot of plants and our grass. And this upper one will also serve as a curb for our custom floor, custom path. So I created my own floor from the concrete pieces and plaster pieces. The actual path for the guests is actually like below it, so the guests are obviously able to walk in there, but you just don't see the paths and those very weird angles of paths that I needed to create, so to be sure that the guests will be able to access both the entrance and the ticket booths. after I will be finished with those curbs or walls, I will start to work on this structure, metal structure that is here by the entrance. It is also in Dubai, and I was inspired by it. It was actually very hard to nail the angles again in this structure, so I was like figuring out all the time, adjusting it, and in the end it took me way too much time, so I skipped the footage of making it, and you'll just see it complete by the end, so sorry for that. It is very easy. I mean, there are only those two rods that are connected together in a very weird angle, and it is copied over and over again in a circle. But you need to like nail this angle of those rods to make it like as you want to. By the end, I was able to do it, but I think that I was just lucky because I was just trying it over and over again, and suddenly it clicked. So, so yeah, I really like it. It serves as a support from some plant that is growing in there. So it is probably a creeping plant that will grow over it with time, but I've put there some bush because I didn't feel like the ivy will look good in here, and we don't have a lot of those creeping plants in game. We only have ivy, this wisteria one I think it is called, and also this red one that came with an aquatic pack. So yeah, my choices were limited, and I decided to go for some bush. It is this corkwood tree, I think. I'm not sure if it is called like this, but yeah, this is it. After the structure, I will be working on the flooring, as I told you already. So yeah, the floor will be made of concrete and plaster pieces, and I will change the color that is between like gray and pink, maybe red. I'm not sure how to call it, but it is quite common for paths, and it is actually looking very good in this position. Obviously, I was inspired by a real build because they have also this color in here, but I really like it. After that, I will use my custom walls again and create some big big area for plants on the other side of this building. And then I will focus on paths and making it look good for people to go up there to the actual entrance. And after adding a path, it was something very difficult. It was adding a lot of plaster pieces just to create those plazas in the front of the entrance. I wanted to use the beige color because it was on the original build, and I think that it looks really nice in here. With this path that I decided to use, but you know, using those plaster pieces when the surface is flat is easy, but when it's not, when there's this slope and you have to like bend them in two different directions, it starts to get very difficult, and I wasted so much time on making those plazas, but in the end I like how it turned out, and it is not perfectly even, but I still like how it looks, and I think that it is looking very realistic, and I wouldn't be able to do something like this with the paths that we have in game. I know that there are certain tricks to create the plazas that are not like square, because aligning to surface creates more of square plazas. You can like make the angles more curved, but it's still challenging, and as I told you, I wanted to use the beige color, and we don't have any path that is actually in that color. So yeah, I cut out most of the footage of creating those plazas, but it was just copying the plaster pieces over and over, so I am sure that you'll know how I created it. And while deleting this footage, I accidentally deleted the footage when I added those bollards. I think that they are called bollards. Those are those, little columns that prevent cars to, park or ride on the path. So yeah, those are those. There are so many of them right now, but I think that I will go back here and add also some planters, and in between the planters there will be those bollards, just so the guests can have some, spaces when they actually can enter this plaza, not like round like it is like this, like not right now. But yeah, those bollards, I hope that they are called bollards, are here just for sake of realism and to protect our guests. After that, I will be creating this white metal structure that is like a tunnel or something like this above the path. In the real life entrance, you have like some sort of netting between those white beams, but we don't have anything like this in the game now, so I just left it open. They have some planters with some, again, creeping plants, so probably they want those plants to overgrow this whole structure, so it gives some shade for the guests when they enter the park. I added again those corkwood trees in the planters, but I still wanted to leave this structure because I think that it looks very, very cool. It is something bright, in comparison to the mostly dark entrance, and it is just a way, cool way to enter the park through this, let's say, tunnel or the structure. And yeah, I think that it looks really, really nice. After completing this, I will focus on the grass that I already told you about, so stay tuned if you want to see how it looks. And also I will add all the plants, all the trees in there, all the palm trees, so it looks more lush and more like an oasis on the desert or something like this. I'll also add some benches and bins, and that is basically it. Oh, so as you can see, this build was a lot of pieces, a lot of different things that I had to think about and I had to consider while building. But in the end, I am super proud of this build and I hope that you enjoy it. And this actually makes me so happy that we are able to create such things in this game, and makes me even more impatient for our future builds. So yeah guys, this is all that I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and if you watched to this point, you are simply the best. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up down below. Ring the bell if you want to be notified every time I upload a new video. Comment down below if you like this build, if you have any recommendations or suggestions for our new park. And of course, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. We are almost on 1000 subscribers and I simply cannot believe it. So thank you guys. And obviously all the new subscribers are super welcome. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys!
Oh.